And we are officially live for another episode of Shut Up and Invest. We appreciate you guys joining us. And today we're giving an update to a topic we've discussed before, but it's a hot topic. We constantly get questions of how to build a team, how to get freedom in this business, how much to pay them, and what does each person do. So we're going to cover some questions that we've been getting lately on the subject. And of course, you guys can always chime in. But before we get into the nitty gritty, the man of the hour, the man with the master plan, the one who blesses us with his presence after he puts down coconut water and the life of beach sand and sun, Mr. J Money. What's going on, brother?
Hey, Kevin, how's it going today, man? Hey, listen, man, you live in the sun too. You live near the beach. I mean, I'm not the only one getting some sun and some water. Definitely the only one getting coconut water. I need like to keep coconut water nearby too. Also, Kevin will take you to Miami. He will take you to these little gas station, little hole in the wall spots with the best juices in the world, just so you know. So, like, don't let it
get. Yeah, what's going on over there? How's everybody? How's the family? How's Puerto Rico life?
Hey, it's doing good, man. I took my first ferry trip from Vieques to the main island yesterday, so that was a good experience. You know, because we got to take a ferry or a plane, and my kids were kind of tired of those little small planes that endanger their life, so we actually took the ferry yesterday. So it was a good experience. I actually went over there because one of my clients from Michigan was on the mainland, so I had to go I met with them. The real reason I had to buy my daughter an iPhone for her birthday. And you can't buy an iPhone where I'm at. So I went over to get the iPhone and met with with a client at the same time. So it was pretty good.
Look at you doing business meetings in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
The cost of living in the island that you're in right now, give us an idea.
I mean, honestly, man, the cost of living, I think in most of Puerto Rico, unless you're in the real hot spots, is going to be less than it's less than Miami, right? And so the island that I'm on, Vieques, I'd say housings. I mean, dude, there's like housing out here. Housing's definitely, probably a quarter less than what you would find in Miami, right? And I like to say Miami's actually priced very reasonable compared to the rest of the hot spots in the country. So like if you're in New York or LA or San Francisco or Boston, you're paying a lot more than you do in Miami, right?
Yeah.
Puerto Rico, the cost of living is actually probably, I'd probably say about 0.25% less than Miami, where I'm at. There's spots in Puerto Rico you pick up houses for, dirt cheap, right? Then you have your spots like Dorado and San Juan that are pretty expensive. But, where I'm at, the cost of living is pretty good. I lived in Hawaii for a while. The thing about Hawaii was the cost of living, like just for milk and your everyday stuff is so expensive. Puerto Rico doesn't, it's not expensive like that, right? You have a little bit of a markup, but nothing compared to, what you saw in Hawaii. And then, I met a lot of the local farms. So we get a lot of stuff from local farms, a lot of, our goal is to actually, when we get a house here, is to actually grow our own food, so that of course cuts costs down too. So, when you add in the stuff locally plus the tax benefits, I mean, I see that you could probably cut your cost of living in half than what it was when I lived in Miami.
Give me an idea when you guys go out to dinner or something like that. What's it looking like?
Well, the whole family or just me and Jackie? If it's me and Jackie, we can go out to dinner, have a good dinner at a nice place. A couple of drinks for around $100, which is kind of crazy compared to, if you go to Miami to some of the higher spots, you might be looking at $200, right? So I mean, we're probably around $75-$80 for a good dinner.
But it's not super cheap either.
No, and that's the high end spot. I mean, I can go to a lower spot and get some dinner for like $20-$25. Yeah, so. It's not super cheap. Like when you talking about Colombia, when you go to Colombia, the cost of living some places there, it's not on that scale at all. I mean, we're still using a dollar here, so the dollar is a dollar. So it's not like that, no. But it's definitely cheaper than some of your other high end spots.
Got it. Well, I mean, since we're talking about the team structure and being that you're here now, in a place that has major tax incentives. Why don't we start off with the accounting side of things?
So accounting, as far as how we each do our own accounting in house, or what?
Yeah, I mean, have you had to search for the CPA that's now more experienced in the situation that you're in, or you're still using the same CPA? Tell us a little bit about your accounting, and then I'll tell you mine.
Got it. So I've had the structure. When I figure out the whole Act 60, which is kind of the incentives of over here in Puerto Rico, we'll kind of have a show just for that. So I'm still researching some of that. So I definitely had to get a CPA, who knows Puerto Rico tax law, right, for some stuff here. But I still have to have a CPA in the States who knows what we're doing in the States, because basically what will happen is I create a company in Puerto Rico that will basically get all the income from whatever companies I have anywhere else, So yes, I had to get a CPA over here. Then I also have my CPA in the States, and we've actually been looking for a new CPA for tax strategy, as far as like strategizing on taxes, meaning like, okay, if we're doing a lot of wholesale deals or seller finance deals, right? Seller finance deals are not what you would say. They don't bring the tax write-offs that a rental brings, right? So we've actually met with a few CPAs over the last few months as far as getting the right one that will help us structure our business the right way, because you want to always capture that depreciation and tax benefits too, right? So we actually have a CPA in the States that we just started working with about a month ago, who's actually going to help us do all of our strategizing, right? Who might say, hey, look, you guys need to go buy that building, keep it as a rental, force depreciate it as much as you can, since you don't have to pay any taxes this year. And then I also have my own tax person in Puerto Rico who's going to tell me how I have to structure my stuff individually. And again, my company's with partners, right? So each partner at the end of the day has their own tax strategy for them personally. Then you have the strategy for the company.
I don't want to make this show up the tax saving strategies in Puerto Rico, but what you've learned so far is that you can't just live in Puerto Rico and use your US-based corporation to get the tax savings. You actually have to open up a corporation in Puerto Rico.
Yes. And I mean, there's different things, because there's different tax benefits for you individually or for your company, right? So I can claim Act 60 for me personally, and each one is like, it costs a different amount and it's different, income threshold. So the one that I'm doing is for my company. So if you start a company in Puerto Rico, that company gets the benefits. And then what basically happens is any dividend income is taxed at 0%, right? So if you get any income from dividends, from a stock, from a bond, right, from even a company, right? Because our company is situated where we get paid more in dividends and less in salary, because dividend income is taxed cheaper. It's taxed less in the States too. In Puerto Rico, it's taxed at 0%, right? So I did have to create an LLC here that basically will become the member for me in any company I'm in the States.
Got it.
Yeah. And I want to clarify too, it's if you move from the States to Puerto Rico, right? So it's not like everyone's dividends is taxed 0% or gets these tax exemptions. If you actually move from the States to Puerto Rico, there are huge tax incentives for people who do that.
Right. My accounting structure, and I think like one of the things that I want to make sure we point out here is, I know too many one-man show real estate professionals that do not have a good relationship with a numbers person on their team, aka an accountant. They just kind of wait till the end of the year. They take all their tax information and their papers and their bank statements, and that person just files a tax returns, tries to save them a ton of money, and calls it a day. I'm going to be honest with you. I personally, doesn't matter how big you are or how many deals you're having, I personally feel having an accountant that's working on your stuff month to month, no matter how big or how small, is key, especially in the real estate investing game, because you need that advice, and you need that you need to be checking your numbers of where your money's going on marketing. Now there is some people that are really good with their spreadsheets and their Excel wizards, and they stay up to date with their expenses and they're looking at it all the time. And if you have that personality, great. But most people don't. Most people just look at deposits and then balance on their bank account and keep it moving. And they just kind of look at their bank account. Okay, I got $8,000 in there. Sure, let me spend $1,500 on this, direct mail, or let me spend whatever money they're deciding. And that spends so much money. Like you'll be surprised how much I tweak and I cut off and I turn on and I invest more, just simply because I have a bi-weekly meeting with my accounting team and I see where our money's going. I track return on investments per effort, per campaign. I have expenses per team member so that I know if they have the ability to spend money on the corporate account, how much are they spending versus how much are they bringing in as a return on investment, including what I'm paying them. And I have all that tracked. So those are all situations that even if it was just me, I would still want to say, all right, let's break down this campaign versus this campaign and how much did I spend with this effort. And if I put bandit signs or if I, did a text messaging campaign, this is how much I spent. And I feel that's all part of accounting. And either you're doing it yourself and then reviewing it with your accountant, ideally on a monthly basis, so that they can run your bookkeeping and they'll give you an overall breakdown of what the total marketing cost is. Then I feel you either yourself or somebody should really start digging deep and kind of categorizing, even in just simple meals and entertainment. You went and you met with somebody and you sat down and you spent whatever 70, 80, $150. That is an expense. That's an investment into your company. Now, what's the return on investment in that? And before you know it, if you're doing that way too much, you might, if you're not getting a return on investment on your lunch meetings and your dinner meeting, that means you got to work on that, just like you would work on when you get a phone call, and you got to tweak that and you got to make sure it's giving you a return on investment. And you realize that by looking at your profit and loss statements and having your accounting team say, like, hey, buddy, you're $4,300 in meals and entertainment. Now, if it's you and your wife and you're writing it off on your business and you're doing that and it's really personal expenses, like whenever I have a personal expense that I write off as a business expense because it was like half meeting, half not, like it could have been, this, like I tell my accounting team, like, this one right here is a maybe, like this could be personal. Like I want to know truthfully the ones that I actually spend money on from a business standpoint, what is my return on investment? Because if I spend $6,000 in a year whining and dining, did I really make my money back and some profit? And if not, I'm better off staying home on the phone than whining and dining because it's not getting me anything.
Yeah, no, that's key. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we go over our profit, we go over our P&L monthly, our balance sheet monthly, right? We also we're also setting our goals, right? So like we set our goals from last year at the beginning of the year of what our goals and our budget will be. So we have, two people. We have an accountant. And one of my partners actually is really good at Excel sheets, right? But he takes what he's doing off of our P&L, right? So the P&L starts it all. With P&L meaning your profit and loss statement, right? And when I got into real estate, I remember the first thing my broker told me was you can't go to H&R Block anymore, right? Like as soon as you become in real estate, you have to hire a real CPA to handle your taxes, right? If you're not, you're just not, you're missing the boat on a lot of things as far as like what you could be benefiting from, but also how to run your business day in and day out. So yeah, we definitely both have CPAs and bookkeepers and people on our team that are kind of like giving us that blueprint because I can't do a P&L. I mean, I can read it, right? But I can't sit down and do all that. That's just not what I do, But to be able to see that and your balance sheet every month and be able to track and say, okay, last week our rate of return was this and this month is that. You can actually tweak things. And what's key though, what you said is like tracking your marketing, right? Because let's say I do direct mail and texting, right? Let's say I'm spending $2,000 a month on direct mail, right, and $5,000 on texting, but I'm getting 75% of my leads from direct mail, right? What do? You move those things around. You put more money in direct mail and less to texting. I don't think enough people do that. They just kind of throw money at the wall and see where it sticks.
Agreed. So now let's get into cost, right? Because we said we would talk about different team members and what they do and what are the benefits and also how much is it costing. The way I do it is I actually do business with the same people that do accounting for me. So I make sure that I put them in the game. I make sure that they make money in the real estate game throughout the year. So I become an asset for them, but I still pay them for their services. But now I can ask for that type of breakdowns, and I'm paying on average of about $1,000 a month for my accounting services, including payroll. But with that, I'm all, technically they could be charging me more. You can get a relationship with a bookkeeper that might charge you monthly, anywhere between 150 to 350 a month, depending on how much movement and how much transactions you have, and how much of a breakdown you're asking them to track in categories, right? So, for example, that business meeting, and when I say this might be a maybe, this for our personal, this is definitely a business meeting. I'm just taking pictures of the receipts and sending them through WhatsApp or through email so that they can then take it and classify it, because I'm not going to remember a month later when they're like, by the way, when you were at Coco's barbecue spot, was that a business meeting or not? And I'm like, I don't even remember who I was there with or whatnot. So I do it there on the spot. I give them my notes and I set it and forget about it. And they keep that between marketing campaigns, between all the initiatives that I'm investing money, they really break things down to me, and they meet with me for 2 weeks. But the idea of doing business with them, not just in accounting, but then, hey, I got a deal together. Like, why don't you get into the business with me? Why don't we do a deal together? And I put a couple deals a year into their portfolio, whether they're flipping, wholesaling, or keeping it as a rental. Now they go above and beyond on my numbers because they're also interested in the real estate game, and it benefits them, right? And because they see my numbers, they know it's real, they know it's legit, and they want to, be a part of that as well for themselves.
That's so funny because we never talked about that before, but the person who does all my numbers too, my P&L, my taxes, is also one of my private lenders. Right. So like she lends us money to go and invest, and who would know better what we're doing than the person that actually does our financial statements, so that is.
And they can open up the doors to more people that they're,
yes.
Connected to, like, hey, look, I got a client. This is what I do with them if you want to be a part of it. So yeah, it's worked out in that way. So that's a good way to start off, because people think, oh, I'm just going to go see my accountant at the end of the year, and they're going to treat you just like that as well. Well, you're just a client that does taxes with me at the end of the year, along with the other 300, 400, 500 people that I see. That's not the type of relationship you want, because you can get business from it, you can get referrals, and you can get the type of breakdowns that really save you money in your business. So I think that was a valuable team member and a good start to this whole show. Who's the newest members that you've recently brought on, and walk us through what you were looking for, why, some of the characteristics, how you found them, what they're doing for you, and what you're paying them.
Definitely. So we just brought on another lead generator, right? So I have some guys who text for me, right? We just call them lead gen, right? They text, they use batch, they text, they have a certain amount of text per day. And literally they're my son's one, and the rest of my coach of football, right? So they're either, they just graduated high school, they're at college, or they're at home. And so I actually just brought one of my son's teammates on last week. He just started last week texting for us, right? So he was the newest member we had, was him. So my texters, they get paid a base rate, right? Our goal is for them to text 500 texts per day, right? So we say 500 per day or 2,500 a week, right? That's their goal, and they get paid a base minimum for hitting that goal. Then they get a bonus for every deal that we close that comes from their text, right? So that's how they get paid. So, we right now we're up to 4 of them. Say 1, 2, yeah, we got 4 of them, and so there's no hours. It's just, hey, get those 500 in throughout the day. Make sure you're following up. Make sure you're responding in a timely manner, right? And then send us the hot leads at the end of the week.
Okay, so that's good. Let's break this down. They got to text at least from what time to what time, because I'm sure you don't want them sending 500 texts at 2 a.m. So what's the range?
Yeah, the system only works from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Right? Okay. So 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Whatever time zone you're in is when the system works.
Got it. So then They send the text messages out using the templates that you've given them. And then if somebody replies, what's their role once you get someone that is actually a potential opportunity?
Got it. So yeah, they have the templates, they have the quick replies, right? Now they're learning. The good thing about it is they all actually want to learn real estate. So they're learning and they're studying real estate, they're learning how to talk to sellers, right? When it comes to a point where somebody's ready to get on the phone call, we use Telegram. So everybody's in Telegram. They'll send a snapshot of that picture to Telegram, and then my acquisition guy or my lead manager will then make a phone call. He'll put that person into the CRM. He'll make the phone call, get the information. So they're texting all the way up until, hey, they want to get the phone, or what texting. Someone might say, hey, I want to sell. As soon as they see somebody wants to sell, they'll send that picture into us, so my lead manager can call that person up.
Okay, perfect. So the minute the person is ready to get on the phone call, that's when they hand it off.
Yep. And I always say with texting, right? Texting, it's an icebreaker, right? I don't think you want to text and negotiate. That's not what we're trying to do. They don't know how to negotiate. That's not their job. It's an icebreaker to find out who wants to sell. So we're texting a lot of people trying to get out who wants to sell. As soon as we figure out they want to sell, we're going to hop on a phone call with them, set an appointment, go look at the house.
Got it. And do you have them ask any kind of pre-qualification questions before?
They do. So, you'll get the initial text, hey, looking to see if you want to sell your house. And somebody will say, hey, make me an offer. Then the next reply is a quick reply. I might say, could you tell me a little bit about the property? It's only fair for you if we to discuss the property. If I make an offer now, it'll probably be a lowball offer. Something to that kind of effect. So we're trying to get property condition, price maybe, right? But they're not going to go deep where they're texting back and forth and negotiating and stuff like that. But they usually do get some good information.
Right. We have a group. I don't know if you guys can see that in the YouTube. So when they're texting, they'll do texting and calls, and then they're giving us, 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, updated except for the bathroom. The maintenance is $293 a month. Elevators are old, so they're fixing them. Motivation, wants something in the north for her grandson going to study in Jacksonville. Price point, $179,000. Time frame to sell, 30 to 45. So this is all happening via the text message. That's the pre-qualification questions. And then when they're ready for the call, once they finish asking those kind of questions on text, boom. Or we've now gotten a couple of them trained. They didn't start like this. First, we get them on text until they're comfortable. But once they've been in the game and they get used to these conversations, and we've role played with them on the phone and they've done some cold calling, we're having them hybrid where they're cold callers and texters. So they're cold calling from 4 to 7, and some of them from 8 in the morning to 10 in the morning. And then from in between, they're doing some administrative stuff, and they got to hit 500 text messages as well.
Got it. Yeah, so, 2 of them, one of our texters has been doing the longest. He'll hop on the phone. He'll hop on the phone. If it's a lead that comes by, he'll hop on the phone and call him up, and he'll just do the whole thing. He also is the one that kind of makes sure that everybody's responding, because with texting, it's easy to text, but you don't respond, right? So my goal, don't just send out 500 texts. If they're responding to you, you got to respond back to them. So, we tell them to send out 50 at a time. That way they can handle responses, right? If 50 seems slow, then send out 100 at a time. But don't just send out, 200 or 300 and just get them out to get them out. No, we got to have conversation with these people so that you can actually, it's all about building rapport, right? The first line of defense always build the most rapport, right? So even on a text, if you text somebody back and they respond to you, you don't reply for 3 days, well, they're going to be like, this company has no idea what they're doing. So you want to reply to people quickly, right? Via text. When they call into you want to make sure you build rapport on the phone call. All that builds up to whenever we run the appointment. It's easy for our acquisition guy. They've already had a good, warm feeling with our company before that.
Exactly. Yeah. And you want to get them to graduate to, like I said, just like that. Once they have interest, they can get on the phone, call them, get the rest of the questions answered, and then say, all right, cool, I'm going to give this over to my partner or give this over to my team lead or my boss, however your script is, and then you can just call in, review what they've already talked about, and then start the negotiating process. So as far as payment, you said you pay them per hitting 500 and a bonus? You want to give us a range of what that usually looks like?
They make like $350 to $400 a month. I mean, not a month. $350, $400 a week for hitting their 2,500 during the week, right? If they get over 2,500, we pay them a bonus for going over that, right? And then when a deal comes in that we buy from them, they get a bonus of $150 for that deal.
Okay, so $150 per file that closes.
Yeah. That closes, yeah. So that we like that wholesale. If we buy it at all, they get paid for that deal. It doesn't have to be a closed deal that we bought and sold. If we buy it, they get paid. You know, and then again, so you're using VAs for that, right? Right, Kevin? Because I do get asked. I don't have any VAs. It just worked out that I've had these people who I've coached in football who then could use some work, so I give them a shot to come work in our company.
Yeah, we use VAs and we also have partnerships with agents. So that's another strategic way. So the VAs we're paying, and we get VAs usually anywhere between $4 to $10 an hour, depending on where we're getting them. We've hired companies that were doing some cold calling before, and that's usually ranging anywhere between $1,200 to $1,800 a month. There's some that are a little bit more expensive to $2,000 to $2,200 a month. The problem we've found because of the markets that I'm in is that most of those services don't have Spanish speaking. So we had to get, local agents that do speak English and Spanish and VAs in the South American, Latin American communities that work, between $4 to $6 an hour. And then we pay them a bonus. But we don't start off with a bonus up front. The way that I have everybody structured, the agents that partner with us locally, they're used to commission-based efforts anyway. So there is no base salary. Like, you want to partner, I teach you the game, you put in the sweat equity, and we do these deals. And if you're just on the acquisition side, then you're making 10% of whatever the net, the profit is. So if we make 20 grand, you make $2,000 off that deal. If we make 10 grand, you make 1,000. If we make 30 grand, you make $3,000. But all you're doing is acquisition. If you're going to go and find the buyer as well, then you can make a percentage off that. But we'll get to that when we get to dispositions. So we work out these mentorship type of agreements with agents that want to learn the off-market game. And that's how we pay them. So they don't cost us anything other than skip tracing the list. And that's the value that I bring. I'm going to mentor. I'm going to provide the list. You just got to make the calls, get good at this, and close. And then this is what you're going to make. So I'll get the list. I'll skip trace it. I got the CRM. I got the whole done for you system. You just plug in and get to closing.
Yeah.
If they want to text, I do have them put skin in the game. And so I'll provide the dialer if they don't already have one. A lot of agents already have one. I'll provide the list. But if they want to do more, then they got to get another list and skip trace it and really get hungry. If they want to text, I do make them get their own text situation. So kind of like, a mentorship, partnership, joint venture agreement. For the VAs, we provide everything. They're on that per hour, and I don't pay them a bonus structure until they actually start providing quality opportunities. So, like, earn your bonus. Like, show me that you're good enough. And when you show me results, now let's sit there and talk about, how much you can make per deal. And, a couple $100 is usually around the range that they're happy with, $150 to $250 per deal.
Got it. How much does it break down, you think, per VA that you're paying them on a weekly basis?
Man, my VAs are averaging full time anywhere between $800 to $1,000. On average. The really good ones that I have do make a little more, $1,200 a month, and then our part timers are anywhere between $300 to $500 a month.
Got it. Yeah, so about the same, VA or yep. And then your next thing would be what? So with us, the text comes in, or the text comes in, they get it, they're doing the first thing. Then we have our lead manager, right? So in my company, we have a lead manager who We used to have it where the acquisition guy answered the phone calls, set the appointment, ran the appointment. But when we start doing more and more and more marketing, you actually need your acquisition people to be out there running appointments and not answering the phone. So we actually have a lead manager who takes all the incoming calls. We have two of them because we're in a couple different markets, and it's basically like, hey, this one has half the markets, this one has the other half, right? So our lead manager is responsible for all the inbound calls, right? Qualifying the information from the seller up front on the property, right? Setting the appointments in our system with the acquisition managers, and then also going to find those dead leads, right? So you know how your CRM has a bunch of dead leads in your CRM, right? Their job is to like, hey, don't sit around, go find those dead leads and make them hot leads again, right? And bring those into us. So we pay them by commission only.
Got it. Now, the inbound leads are coming from which efforts?
Texting, direct mail.
Okay.
And
if somebody calls, their phone number gets directed to them.
So if I'm texting, right, you know how if you're texting them, they might just pick the phone and call the number back. That goes to the lead manager, right? Direct mail postcard goes to the lead manager. Also, the lead manager is the one that initiates the call on any of those texts that are sent in our Telegram chat. They'll put those in, they'll call that. Another thing we do that's been huge in my company is like, so when you text and you're texting, at the end of the week, we do what's called a hot leads download, right? So we'll download from batch all the hot leads that we might have talked to throughout the week. We'll export them, put them into our CRM, and we run a workflow. It's called a hot leads workflow. That then what it does is over the next 14 days, it'll text you right away. It'll RVM you in like 6 days, in like 3 days. It'll text you again in 7 days. Then it'll start into our green workflow, which happens, at 21 days. So when that import comes in, we might import 20 leads, right, from this one campaign. And you'll see we'll get a bunch of texts back, a bunch of phone calls back, and they'll be answering those calls too.
And you do that on a weekly basis.
Yeah, we do it because usually our campaigns are getting finished per week. So when the week's done, we'll upload all those hot leads. Yep. And then what happens is the CRM knows to so let's say we upload the hot leads at 9 p.m. It will only text them that first contact after 9 a.m. So the next morning at 9 a.m., those 20 will get that initial text that basically says, hey, you talked to my associate. This is Jory. Just following up about your house that you're looking to sell. Because lots of times those texts, they respond to you, but then you can't get a hold of them again. They don't respond to you again. So we don't leave it there. If they mention any time that they want to sell, they become a hot lead. So we put them in our workflow, and now the system works them and tries to get them back online.
I like that because the truth is, if they come in anywhere, let's say you do that every Friday, Monday through Thursday, you're like working them yourself manually. You're like talking to them, you're calling them, you're this and you're that. And then on Friday, everybody goes into the group and then they get hit up.
Definitely. Yep.
So lead managers based off commission, what type of usual commission structure you have for them?
We pay them $500 per closed deal, right? So every closed deal that comes in, right, we're assuming that they were the lead manager on it, they get paid $500 per closed deal. Right. And again, it's per market. So like if we have one guy in these markets, one guy in that market, it's for their markets that they're over.
Right. Some people have asked me, so I have lead manager as well. They do all the follow-ups and they do all the inbound calls as well. They are asking if my lead managers is the same thing as inside sales agents. And listen, you can label whatever you want and structure your business however you want and give them the titles that make sense to you and your organization. But in general, the way I look at it is a lead manager nurtures the lead and kind of qualifies the lead and brings it to either acquisitions or myself to close it. So a sales agent is more of acquisitions, or whoever's closing, in my opinion, closing the deal to get it under contract is what's considered a sales agent. They can be an outside sales agent going to the properties and closing them there, or they could be an inside sales agent actually closing them on the phone. So if the person who's handing them off to this closer is verifying, confirming, making sure they're real or whatnot, that would be considered a lead manager. Now, if you're not that big to be able to have, 20 or 30 of these a week, that's why you have these handoffs and you're just doing 2 or 3 a week, then you may be both the lead manager and the inside sales agent. No big deal. That we're defining the positions, because eventually once it goes from 2 to 3 a week to 10 to 20 a week, that you want to say, okay, I can really grow this thing. Let me have somebody try to handle this so that I can be, working on my freedom and working on the business. That's why we're kind of defining what every role looks like and how much they get paid.
Yeah, because I've done all. There's been times where I was the texter, the lead manager, the sales agent, the dispo guy, everything, right? So you can do it. Do not think you have to rush out there. And me and Kevin are a small team. So when you see at the end of the day, our teams are small teams, right? You don't need this huge team. But also, if you're by yourself, we said this before, you should learn every position of the industry of your company, so that when you start hiring people out, you can teach them how to do it, right? That way you can see when something's not done right. If you just jump out there and hire 3 VAs and lead manager and you don't even know how to do the job, right? You also can't see when things go wrong.
100%. I agree with that. And what people don't understand is that I have someone that takes the inbound calls and I have someone that's going to close, but I'm jumping in whenever there's overages. And that's how I'm able to gauge myself if I need to. So it's like, oh, when do I hire a second lead manager? I don't trust whenever they say, hey, I'm just really busy. Call, we need somebody else. It's like, well, wait a minute. What's really busy? You don't get to 1 or 2, every once in a blue moon. Like if there's 5 days a week and 1 or 2 days out of the week, you don't get to 1 or 2 people, that's not necessarily grounds for me to bring on a completely new person, because they need to have their day booked all day, every day. So
exactly.
1 or 2 that didn't get to, let's say 2 days a week, that doesn't require another full-time acquisitions, lead manager, none of that. That I can easily take so that we don't fall behind. Now, when I'm jumping in to back you up, and now my whole day goes by handling the calls, if that was one day that we got flooded because a new campaign or something really worked or whatever, I'm still not hiring somebody new. But when that turns into a consistent that I can't do any of what I usually do, because I'm actually sitting here taking a lot of these calls and I'm talking and I'm having the meetings and I'm negotiating or I'm breaking down deals or whatever the position is, well, then guess what? Now we really do need another person, because I see there's enough work to bring on someone else so that I got 2 or so that I got 3 or so that I got 4, whatever the case may be. So yeah, you're right. I'm not a 30-person team right now. In fact, I have on salary, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people on salary for the actual business side of it, and another 2 for marketing and branding, and that's it. Then everybody else I have joint venture relationships with, that they're either wanting to be an investor or they're a realtor, and we have profit sharing and some mentorship agreements. But I only have 7 people on payroll right now, and that, to be honest with you, was I didn't want to be past 5. I just added 2 more because things are hot right now.
Yeah, I think with me, like I said, I have four guys who I call lead generators as far as texting, right? So when I'm adding, it's more of there. We have 2 lead managers. We have our acquisition managers, which again, our acquisition managers are these partner mentorship things that Kevin talked about, right? They're all 100% commission, right? Some of them have come on the show, have showed how I've helped mentor them to do that. So if I was to go to a different market tomorrow, I would probably have someone in that market who said, hey, either mentor me or partner with me, and then I would just go in there with our company and partner beside them and make them run all that acquisition. So they're all commission, transaction coordinators commission. So the only people that we're paying some kind of salary to is our 4 lead gen guys. They're getting the base salary. The rest of that, it's off of what you do.
Right. So the acquisition guys, what's that look like? They're on commission. What's the usual pay structure, and what role and responsibility do they have other than closing the deal?
Got it. So right now, our acquisition guys are all commissioned, right? And so basically what happens is, because I'm still doing all the negotiating, right? So there's two tiers. If you have someone in your company who does the appointment, negotiate, close, right? Standard pay is usually between 10 to 15%, right? 10 to 20%, right? When I came in the wholesale, that's what I was doing. I was doing everything. Phone calls, closing it. I was getting 10 to 15%, right? Right now, our acquisition guys are basically going out running appointments, getting pictures, getting some more information, building some more rapport, right? So when that deal closes for them, they're getting that $500 bonus on the deal that closes, right? So they get a base. They get $50 for every appointment they run. So let's say they ran 20 appointments this week. They would get $50 per appointment, whether it closes or not. When it closes, they get an extra $500.
Got it. And that's the boots on the ground that handles all the pictures and everything. You there?
Yes. Sorry. Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me? Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and again, but if it's someone that's in the system, because I do have one guy on one market who kind of is in the system doing lead manager / acquisition, he's making 10 to 15% per deal.
Got it. Now, that's fair. Now, the joint venture and the mentorship that I have, they're running the whole deal. So they're transaction coordinating. They did the acquisition. They went and took pictures if we are doing boots on the ground. Then they're essentially partnering on the deal. So then we're taking out the expense that we took out of the deal, that we agreed per deal. This is to the house. Usually that's anywhere between 20% on average. This is what covers everything that we're, paying for, unless they put their money. If they put their money, then we're in a partnership 50-50. But they're walking the whole deal through. They're doing all the legwork, and we're just basically guiding the ship and jumping in and making sure that everything's good and providing, obviously, the targets and what we're doing and how we're working it. If they're just part of the organization, getting on the phone and closing it, then if they're a monster, I don't see how you can make the business work paying them more than 20%, simply because you have expenses. So you want to basically have where between you pay everybody out, let's say you pay bonuses out 150, 250 bucks here, plus 10, 15, 20%, depending on how good they are. Now we're talking about who's going to sell this to the buyers. If I'm doing it, okay, that's my job. But if I have a disposition person, well, then they're making another 10, 15, 20%. Guys, we can't pay out 80% of the profit of the deal.
No, you can't. No, you can't. You definitely can't. And that's why the really good, you might have been going there, but the really, really good acquisition managers or acquisition guys end up becoming their own wholesale companies one day, because you can only pay them so much, right? And that's what you want. If they're really good, they're going to work with you for a while. They're going to probably go off and do their own thing. So you got to be careful about that too when you're partnering or hiring, because you'll see the really good AMs, if they're really, really good, they're probably already have their foot outside the door.
Yeah, what I've found is you have your two types. You have your entrepreneur-minded ones that they're wanting to learn the game. So they're closing, but they want to know how it works and what's the marketing that works, how you're generating the leads, how you're managing, what's the operations, what's the standard operating procedures. That person, you need to identify that, and you're going to want to say, let's open you up your own team. That way we can franchise you. We can do business partners, or you wish them well and they go on their own because they's I can do this, I can do it better. I can take it to the next level. And whether they're in your market or another market, that's just happens. You got to recognize that personality type. Then you have the ones that I call that they're just closers. They do not care about marketing. They do not want to manage the transaction. They just want their phone to ring and they want to pick up and close. They get off on that. They're good at it. They love it. And you just got to set it up to where they can make their goal number. So they can tell you, hey, if I make 80, I'm good. If I make 100, I'm good. If I make 200, I'm good. Whatever their overall yearly goal is, position your numbers and position your commission structure for them to make that And they could stay with you for a very long time as long as you make sure they're busy enough to continue making that number. And it's like, great, you handle everything. All I got to do is this, give me my check, and I'm going to go do my thing. You have that personality type too. Those are amazing if you could find that. But they both come with challenges because the one that's just a closer, you need to make sure he's closing all day, every day to stay there and to be happy. And then the ones that are entrepreneurs, you got to be able to like understand that he's eventually going to fly the nest. So is he going to do it with your support? And can you potentially expand with him by supporting their growth and opening up a satellite team office and wherever they want to focus? Or you wish them well, mentor them, you both make money with each other for as much as possible, and then boom, they're out the door. And it happens. That's just the nature of the business.
No, those are great points though. Because like you said, the closer doesn't want to have anything to do with the day-to-day, right? And they don't want to do their own day-to-day. So they're good. Just make sure that they can make their money, right? The entrepreneur is the one that you say, hey, okay, we're going to go to this market. And how about me and you partner in this market, right? And that's kind of what, when I was doing virtual, it was like, I'm going to partner with somebody because I'm virtual, right? So I'm in Miami, but I'm doing it in Michigan, right? It's hard to be able to watch that person. So, hey, let's partner and do it because now we're both in it, 50-50, and it makes benefit for both of us to succeed. That's the way that I've always approached that, or you have the one that just is going to go out there and close deals.
Yeah. Then for me, I do have marketing. So I have inbound lead gen from pay-per-click. That usually I have two. And I'm split testing this all the time. So I have companies that I pay and run it, and we have a weekly meeting, and we look at the campaigns, and we look at the KPIs, and they generate the inbound leads opportunity. And then I have someone on my team that does the same, and I kind of I'm always seeing how good is this going, and I'm rotating to see if I can find someone that's better than the other one. So the marketing person, you're going to spend anywhere between $500 to $1,500 a month, as long as you're staying within a $5,000 to $10,000 budget. Once you pass a $10,000 budget that they're managing, then they're going to get up to somewhere between the $2,500 to $5,000 a month, because you're spending 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 grand a month to generate, whether it's Facebook ads, pay-per-click, and they can include some marketing as far as doing your landing pages and doing some videos for your social media to then run ads off of. So all that is part of what the marketing entails. That usually happens when you're cold calling, you're texting, you're driving for dollars, works out. You then say, all right, I got some money. Let me start generating some inbound, because those are the people that really want to talk to you when you can get to that level. And it's going to cost them money, because that's what you pay them for management. But then you got to have the marketing budget as well, which if you don't have at least to start to test the campaign, in my opinion, $1,500 or more, and to be able to say, I always commit, I'm bringing in this new person. He wants to charge me $1,000 to do what he does, $1,500 to do what he does, $500 to do what he does, whatever the range is. I'm going to give him $1,500 to start for 3 months. Let's see what you can do. Mm-hmm. If I don't see much traction, the most I'm out is I always try to keep my experiments under $10,000.
Yeah.
That's what he's the waters. I look at it like a deal. Like my average deal, $10,000. All right. So look, we get one deal, you pay for itself, we can keep it moving. You don't get one deal, the most I lost was a deal. I look at it from that perspective. So when I'm experimenting new campaigns, especially with new people, I'm trying to say, I'll give you 90 days to do your research and development. Marketing usually takes the first 30 to 45 days. They're getting to know the market. They're seeing who's responding, who's not. They're tweaking what's working, what isn't. I'm not expecting results overnight. But by 90 days, we should already have some momentum. We should already have the data. And the more money I pump into it, the faster we're going to get to those results. But I don't know if this guy's just going to blow through my money yet, which is why I keep him on that budget. As we start getting results, and if they're good ones, then we can ramp up the budget, and they can get to managing $5,000 a month or more, paying them more, obviously.
No, that's a good point, because you never know. There's so many companies out there that offer like SEO or PPC, right? They'll do it for you. And I've heard horror stories about them, because you just don't know. You know, they ask for a certain amount up front. Okay, you know, if you give me $5,000, we can do this much with it, you know? So I like the way that you say, hey, I'm gonna set you at this for 90 days, test it, see what you're doing. And if you're doing good, okay, now we'll give you more, right? It's incentive-based for them.
Now, the guy comes in or the girl comes in and they rock and roll the first 2 months, I don't have to stay to 1,500. Like I said, cool, ramp that up to 3,000. Let's see how that works.
Definitely.
And we've had moments, and I've had moments where campaigns are doing really well for a while, and then all of a sudden we have a dip. Facebook changes something, or now the people, they've seen the ad too many times. So now you can't just think like, oh, I'm going to now spend $3,000 always, and it's going to keep coming in the same. That's when the person who's managing and that relationship you have and talking with them, they should be telling you like, hey, this is, I think too many people, that's it. They're used to the same McDonald's commercial already. Like, time to switch Ronald McDonald and let's get somebody else in there. You know, that tweaking then needs to go. All right, let's make sure we're not blowing through the money. We got up to $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, but now we're trying something new. Ramp it up easy. Like, don't go through $5,000 and then we come to find out that that new video or that new ad doesn't convert the thing, and we just spent, you know.
Just went out. Shut it down. Hey, sorry. Kevin's power went out, so that's what happened. I thought I was the one that lost power because I'm in Puerto Rico. But yeah, like he was saying, you know, can you guys hear me? Just making sure I'm still here. You guys can see me. But like he was saying, yes, with anything with your marketing, you got to make sure that you're testing that out and staying on pace. So it's funny because I thought my internet always messes up in Puerto Rico. I didn't know his power went out. But after you talk about marketing, the next thing that we have is dispo. Right. So disposition, meaning, you know, who's selling your deals, right? Who's out there selling your deals for you, right? So in our company, hey, you back, Kevin?
We had a major power outage. I was sitting here talking to myself in the dark.
I thought I was the one out because, you know, I'm in Puerto Rico. The wind just started blowing crazy. So I thought, oh, they lost me. But I guess that was you. But I was just about to talk about disposition, right? Because that's the next piece where, you know, both of us actually have somebody who handles disposition for us, right? And disposition just means who's selling your deals for you, right? You do all the, you know, the inbound stuff, all the marketing, you get the deal in place. But most importantly, when that deal comes in place, can you sell that deal? And there's a few different ways, right, that we've been doing it. We used to have a dispo person, right? And that dispo person got paid, again, commission, right? So in our company got paid $500 per deal. Right? This was all over the phone. They weren't out shaking hands or anything. It was somebody who was virtual doing our dispo, right? Basically, that deal comes in, it's a deal. I would hand off to them, you know, the information about the deal, like the specs about the deal, the marketing description about the deal. They will upload it to our website. They will blast it to the buyers list, to any media sites, the Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, right? They would handle the inbound calls, set the appointments. That's what they would do. And close, we pay them a commission. Another way to do it, which we've been doing a lot of now, is just partnering with wholesalers, right? A lot of wholesalers now actually only dispo, okay? So, for example, Keegley and Jamil. I talk to Jamil. Anytime I get a deal where I know Jamil has people on the ground, I'll just call Jamil and say, hey, we're going to still do it on our side. But I say, hey, Jamil, I got a deal here, right? Run some dispo, right? Now I'm partnering with somebody else to do the dispo for me. And that's a good way, again, where when you partner up with people, is you can hand off to somebody like that, their dispo machine, and that's what they focus on is running, right? Still do yours, but you actually have them working for you for free if they find a lead, give you a deal. There's a lot of good ways. There's a lot of investors now that internet who have created a huge virtual buyers list that can help you dispo a deal.
Yeah. And I think, to be honest, my opinion, I don't know if you would agree, that's the last position you fill, because that's something that you should be doing and you can do on your own, because it's a matter of if you can put everybody you know on an email list, every realtor you know, every investor that you've ever met, put them on an email list. If you put the deal on Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, and all the local realtor association Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups, I mean, just have your checklist like we've talked about. Do the checklist. All right, posted it here, posted it here, posted it here, posted it here, emailed here. And then you get on the phone and you call all your like VIPs that you really have a relationship with. Part of that should be just like Jory said, wholesalers, that they have their buyers lists. And then you just tell them, hey, look, man, you get me a buyer, I'll be able to pay you $3,000 off of this. You get me a buyer, I'll be able to pay you $5,000. You get me a buyer, I'll be able to pay you $1,500. And if you could put anything on top, go ahead. I don't care. So it's the last position.
Yeah, no,
that I would go ahead and outsource.
Yeah, I mean, also because remember, if you're the investor, right, and it's your business, part of your job should be going out there and talking to people, right, shaking hands and kissing babies, finding out what people want, right. So, dispo on a deal in your market should be pretty easy because you've already been talking to people out there, right. If it's a virtual market, we had a deal in the virtual market where you don't know anyone, you probably want to reach out to those local Facebook groups, those local investors and wholesalers in that area, and then help that way, right. But yeah, definitely. I've been dispoing deals for the last 2 or 3 months just because it's simply set the email, set the text blast, send it out, and then the system works for itself.
Right. When do you feel it's a good time to bring in someone to take that over, in your opinion? And this is all perspective and subjective, man. I mean, at the end of the day, if there might be people that say, listen, if I'm paying him $500 per deal and he's cool with it and he's a realtor friend of mine and I get 3 or 4 a month, he's making an extra $1,500, $2,000 a month, and I'm making the rest and I don't got to do anything. Hey, cool. Like, I'm not saying that doesn't exist. That's up to you. But in general, when would you suggest people start looking into the dispo replacement?
Well, it kind of goes back to what you said earlier, right? You're going to always add people as like, let's say you're starting for one person. You're going to add people kind of in the progression we went, right? You're going to add the lead gen, then the lead manager, then acquisition, right? When you seem like you can't do your duties for your business, then you add them, right? So like when it gets to the point where, again, in my company right now, I still make every offer. I'm still the one on the phone, right? I don't talk to them on the phone until it's time to make an offer unless the first guy doesn't pick up, it'll ring to my phone. We don't want to miss a phone call. But when it comes to the point where, I can't handle dispoing my deals and submitting the offers every day, now I need to go find somebody to do the dispo, right? If I got to make 10 offers today and I keep having to push that offer back to tomorrow because I'm dispoing the deal, right? Or a deal is sitting there that we can't dispo because I'm too busy submitting offers. Now it's time to go find somebody to dispo, to do the dispo job, right? But until you get to that point, like Kevin said, you can easily do that yourself, or not just yourself, you can use the community around you, right? There's so many people around you that you can help dispo a deal. So that actually is the last piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Bottom line, the minute you're the bottleneck in the situation of the deal, if it's a deal that you've got under contract and it's been more than a day and you haven't been able to get that out, like, guys, you can lock up a contract. I think so many trainings and podcasts and conferences spend so much time talking about getting a deal, but if it's sitting in your world and nobody knows about it, that was a waste of time. You have to quickly get it out there because that's how you're going to be able to make your money.
Definitely. Definitely. So yeah, I think after that, transaction coordinator is one that we all use, and you know, in our free investing course, we actually broke down every dispo part to our team, right? So if you guys don't have that, the links below, go down there, check it out. We actually went into great detail about this whole topic. But a transaction coordinator is one that you can find for a pretty good price, right? And pretty much the industry standards, you pay them commission, right? You pay them per deal, right? So that's someone that I think you should probably get. If you're someone that can't do paperwork, you can't keep stuff in order, right? You can't follow up with sellers, follow up with buyers. Go out and get a transaction coordinator. There's plenty of companies that will do it virtually for you. Also, your title company will do a lot of that stuff too, right? So I will lean on my title company first. The title company, when you hand that contract to your title company, a lot of that back and forth between the seller and the buyers and the transaction, the title company will do for you.
100%. All right, man. I think we took an hour on breaking down what people get paid, what team members look like, what are some of the different ranges, and how we manage that. I think it was a good show.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we went from our tax accountants and our financial, planners to our dispo and transaction coordinators, right? So we'll come back on here soon and break down the whole tax benefits of Puerto Rico after we get through all that. Maybe bring on a CPA. I got another title company that's going to come on too and talk about some stuff. But yeah, I think this was definitely a good episode for the business structure, right? And again, go to our website, get the free virtual investing course. You guys can get a lot more information about this in there.
All right, guys. And as always,
shut up and invest.